It is a new push to solve an old case in St. Louis. Thank you for joining us. I'm Melanie Johnson. Local officials are hoping to identify a John Doe pulled from the river de Pere nearly 4 years ago. New at 10, First Alert 4's Shoshana Stahl spoke to the man who called 911 back in 2020.
I just saw a body float down Deer Creek.
That's a 911 call Robert Patrick never expected to make nearly 4 years ago. He was riding bikes with his kids along Deer Creek in Webster Groves in July 2020 when he saw a dead man floating through the water.
The condition of his body kind of looked like, an actor in a zombie movie because, so it was clear to me that he had been deceased for a while.
After Patrick first called 911, John Doe's body continued down the creek, eventually going into the river de Pere in St. Louis City, where he was pulled out by fire crews. Patrick says he expected within a month police would know more about the unidentified man, but when there was no update, he decided to try to find more out himself.
I put on my rain boots and kind of walked as far as I could up the creek to see if there was anything, and I didn't find anything that would tell me who he was.
There's a new push from the St. Louis Medical Examiner's Office to identify this John Doe in a partnership with Othram, a company centered around DNA testing.
This particular technology allows you to really look beyond borders because we're looking at genetic relatives, and looking at those genetic relatives allows us allows investigators to have conversations to really understand who this person might be, and then eventually we can confirm their identity using DNA testing.
Investigators say the remains belonged to a 5'11" bald man who weighed 225 pounds and was wearing cargo shorts. Patrick says over the course of the last few years, he's wondered what happened to John Doe and if he would ever be identified.
It has kind of bothered me because, he's got family. They want to know what happened to him. I mean, I can't imagine what that's like to just have somebody disappear and then you never hear anything.
There are about 120 unidentified bodies in the state of Missouri, and in Illinois, that's more than 220. We have more information about this John Doe and his case in this story on the First Alert 4 news app and on our website. In the studio, Shoshana Stahl, First Alert 4.